your house is now on the market. Now what do? All right, all the preliminary work has been done. The measurements are in. The photos are done. The preliminary marketing is finished. We've figured out what we're going to list it for. Now it's time to actually get it sold. It's actually on the market. Now the showings are going to start rolling in, hopefully. So now what are we going to do to put you in a position and to put yourself in a position to get your house sold for top dollar in the shortest period of time? Okay? So let's talk first about the showings. Number one, most important, is be as accommodating as possible for showings. I know if you're living in your house and trying to sell it, it is frustrating when you're trying to get something done and the agent calls you or the showing service calls you and someone who's outside wants to see your house. It's very difficult. It's hard to live in a house and sell it at the same time. But on the flip side, again, you're going back to, we need to sell our house or we've made that decision. It's a sacrifice you're going to have to make is to be as accommodating as you can, because you never know if that's the buyer who's actually going to buy your house for the price that you want it for. So, Jody, talk about some of the things that people should also do for showings, aside from being accommodating.
Yes, that's the most important. Also, you want to make a good impression. So first impressions are key. Your landscaping should look great. The home should be clean, as clean as possible. I mean, I think some people are understandable, if you have a towel or somewhere here or there, not a big deal, but you just want that when somebody walks into the house, a clean smell, nothing overpowering, but something that's just more inviting and neutral, and that just is. You just don't want distractions from your home, because the key is that's we're selling your house, so you don't want the distractions of a bad odor or unkept things in the house. So
right, 100%. Smells are good, nothing overpowering, nothing crazy, but again, what you're trying to create is a great vibe when someone walks in the house. Okay, you want someone to feel good when they walk in. First impressions are huge. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. When someone walks in, you're trying to give a good first impression. Organization, cleanliness, good smells, all of those things, proper staging, all will help the vibe and will give that buyer a good feeling and will give you a better chance to sell for a higher amount and faster if you do all those things. Now, I get it. It's hard when you're living there, but these are crucial parts of selling your home. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Now, let's talk about the emotions related to selling your home. At this point, there's a lot going on. You got showings, you've got timelines, you're trying to get offers. Things can sometimes get a little bit emotional. Okay?
Absolutely.
So this is the time where you need to really remember why you're selling. Try not to get too caught up in the emotions. Try not to get too frustrated or too angry or go down too many rabbit trails that aren't related to your motivation. Let's stick with the plan. And a good agent will help you stay on track and not get too worked up about things that maybe down the road aren't as big of a deal as you think they are. Maybe in that moment they feel like a huge deal. Some things that come up, brought buyers, frustrated with the buyers, said something, frustrated with the showing feedback. Maybe you had an agent who was unprofessional that represented one of the buyers. Maybe you got an insulting offer. Maybe someone said something that wasn't okay or did something that wasn't potentially ethical. All of these things can potentially try to derail you from why you're selling and get you really worked up. We want to keep you on track and remind yourself, okay, we're trying to get to the finish line here. We knew it was going to be tough, and let's not let these little things get in the way of our goal. So obviously a good agent's going to be there to help you with that. Another thing that we want to make sure is that you stay in communication with your agent too. Not only is it the agent's job to communicate with you with what's going on, but you as well. How are you feeling? Things that are going on in your brain, recommendations potentially that you have, something that you heard. All of these things are important. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't think the agent doesn't want to know. It's important to keep that communication going because, again, the agent and you are on the same team, and if that deviates, it makes it very difficult to, again, get to your goal and sell that house. So please communicate with the agent and make sure that you guys are on the same page with everything. And then even if you have questions or you're not sure about something, bounce it off of the agent. It may help you get a little more peace and a little more clarity as to where you're going if you're in that state of confusion. And then when you start getting those showings and the feedback comes in, you got to be prepared to adjust. So Jody, give us some examples of showing feedback that you may want to pay attention to that may help you get to that goal.
Again, I think that's so important to have communication with your agent. That's probably one of the most common reasons, or I guess for people that have had agents in the past they've been upset with, is the communication aspect related to your agent. And part of that, so if you're starting to get bad feedback, there are a few things you can do. It depends on what that feedback is. A lot of times it is pricing. So you may have to do a price adjustment. Other times it may be something in the house they just didn't see or didn't like. So we may recommend, all right, let's move in some chairs here, move this stuff around. It could be a minor update, usually nothing major, but it could be something as small as changing out some doorknobs or something small. So it's nothing major. Usually it's not going to be anything on the big side, but you just got to kind of roll with that feedback, and then kind of what John was saying too is just accept that feedback. Don't take it personal, and just definitely kind of adjust with it. And your agent should be the lead on that and kind of giving you advice on what to do.
Right. So be prepared to adjust. And again, it's not personal. That's the hard thing to hear sometimes when someone says your house isn't what they thought it was going to be. And maybe there is some constructive criticism. Again, back to why you're selling, right? So if someone says, I don't like the paint color in that room, maybe it's worth painting. Again, it's about putting money in your pocket end of the day. When you close and your house is sold, you may be glad that you actually did that work, or, decluttering an area, or cleaning out the garage or something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be big things, but be in tune with that showing feedback. A lot of times you'll get constructive feedback that helps you get to that next phase if you're struggling. Okay. So now, say we're moving on now to the offer. We actually got an offer in, and this is really where, as a real estate agent, they separate you from a lot of other people in the negotiation part. And our recommendation is to, at this point, lean on the expertise of your agent to negotiate the contract. A good agent's going to sit down with you and go over, okay, how does this offer line up with what your goals are for selling? And then what are some things we can do to get you the best deal without necessarily blowing up the contract, for example, or doing something that pushes the buyer away. It's a very tight balancing act. But a good agent's going to be able to negotiate that for you, and a big reason why you're paying them. Okay, so at this point, that's where you lean on that agent to do that work. Okay, so we're going to always recommend listening to the agent, going through, and making sure that you guys, again, are on the same team with figuring out, does this offer get us where we want to go? And taking the emotion out of it, whether you like the buyer or the agent or not, does this get us where we want to be? And so we want to make sure you're focused on that at that point too. And then obviously with that offer, is it lined up with your timelines for where you're going to go? You're going to be moving, obviously. So we're going to make sure all that works together good. A good agent will make sure this all lines up, but you're going to make sure that offer, the closing, the moving, all of that makes sense for your next step in your next chapter. But again, agents should be the ones leading the negotiation, and a good agent will get there for you and do some things for you to get you the best deal possible. That said, always counter every offer. Jody, what do you think about that? Like, even if it's an insulting offer, why would you counter?
You always want to counter because, in fact, a lot of I hear that quite often too, is like, oh, we're afraid that this offer is going to be insulting. You never know where somebody's motivation is. So they're going to come in low because they want the best deal, obviously. So they're always going to come in at a lower price than you probably want. So you definitely want to counter and see where they're at. And that's part of the plan, is to not only to get you the best offer, but to see in the negotiation phase how well we can do on that side of it too. So it definitely it's so important to counter. And other than, I know some people say they walk away from offers. I've never understood that. Make a counter.
Yeah. If it's the offer that meets your needs, and say it's a above asking price cash offer, and it checks all the boxes, there's no reason to counter that. Yeah. But we're saying in a case where you get maybe an offer that's really low, or it's just not what you had hoped it would be, and say you're not in a multiple offer situation, always counter it, because sometimes buyers are just trying to feel out where your bottom line is, and they may make an insulting offer just to see what that is, but they're willing to come up considerably. We've seen it many times, to a price that's more acceptable and reasonable to you, with the terms as well. So that's why we always say counter. Don't ever let an offer blow up or die just because the initial price on that, or the initial terms were not what you would hope they would be, or they're considered insulting or way too low, then you're potentially missing out on a possible deal. That we've seen it many, many, many times. So again, make sure you counter. All right, Jody, I think that wraps up, at least for this phase of the getting your house on the market, the basics that you need to be aware of and being prepared for that. Hope you found this series educational and helpful. If you need help with any of this, you can contact us in the comments below, or you can send us an email. All of our information's down there. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to take you through the process. We know everybody's situation for selling is different. And so we like to come up with customized plans for everybody for their specific motivations and goals. But all of these things we covered in this series go into that, getting you that result to meet that goal. So thank you for sticking with us, and we wish you the best of luck selling your house.
Thank you.